I used to think that my strengths and gifts had to look really flashy to matter to other people, and I kept waiting for some big dramatic talent to just show up one day. I mean, the kind that maybe you've looked for, where you think to yourself, like, it's going to make people stop and take notice. Meanwhile, I was brushing off my natural abilities and gifts and the strengths that I had because to me, they just felt ordinary. I don't know if you felt that way before. I mean, I figured everyone's brain worked the way that mine did. Spotting patterns, being able to boil things down, break things down, creating clear steps forward, like systems and processes. But, one day I was working with a client and they turned to me and they said, "Hey, Jake, in the last hour, you solved something I would have been stuck on for months." And like that reaction, it really hit me hard. Like what felt like common sense to me was completely game changing to them. I almost got frustrated. Like, what are you talking about? This was easy. And then I realized what was really happening. Like I wasn't lacking some gift or waiting for some big dramatic gift to show up. I was just blind to the ones that I already had. And so today we're going to talk about how you can spot these unique abilities, these gifts that feel totally normal to you, but are actually your extraordinary. Like they're extraordinary to other people. And so we're going to refer to this as your gift detector. And so we're going to dive deep into that today. Of course, let me start by saying, welcome to the Giver Method channel. If you're new here, my name is Jake, and I'm so glad you're able to join us. Now, I like to frame this up with a couple of questions that might hit home for you. Like, have you ever shrugged things off that just come naturally to you just as basic stuff, like I was talking about? Even thought like, I don't have anything special to offer, even though people keep maybe asking you for help or coming to you for assistance on things. Or maybe you felt invisible at work or at home because you can't see the unique value that you're bringing. And if any of that sounds familiar to you, trust me, you are not alone in any sort of way. Research out there shows that most of us can only identify one or two of our own gifts, while people around us easily can spot 4, 5, or even 6 unique gifts and strengths that we bring to the table. The truth is, your strongest superpowers feel effortless, and so effortless that we begin to dismiss them, while other people are just amazed by what they are. And this shows up everywhere. Parents get so busy holding everything together that their natural, problem-solving, skills and instincts feel like they're just parenting. Entrepreneurs pile on these new strategies and miss their natural strengths that could be some of their biggest competitive edge, or employees who are just showing up every day feeling like replaceable, assuming the way they handle challenges is just how anyone else would. And so we want to dive deep into that so we can help you with it. Like I mentioned, though, my name is Jake Talbot. I'm the founder and author of this book. It's called The Giver Method. Everything we're going to talk about today is grounded here in the book that I wrote. Just came out last November. Since coming out, it's been an Amazon bestseller. Sold thousands of copies, tons of 5-star reviews. What people love about it is that, like I said, what we're covering today is in here. What they love about it is that it's grounded in my story with real action items and exercises that you can go do. So my story is a lot like yours. I've walked a similar path. I'm a parent of 3. I'm an entrepreneur. I've worked in that corporate atmosphere in the sea of cubicles, so I know what it's like to walk a similar path to you. So when I wrote the book and came up with all the ways that you could discover your gifts, create more impact and influence in other people's lives, more value for the people around you, have better relationships, live a more fulfilled life with more happiness and joy, step into who it is that you truly are meant to be, I wrote it through the idea that you would be the person who's reading it. So you could go through and start working through these different ways to improve your life and improve the lives of those around you without having to burn everything down or go move to the woods to find yourself. That's not the point. The point is just go through the simple exercise as part of that. So what we'll talk about today is going to be very grounded in that. Now, there was those moments, like I said, I mean, talking to that client where it was like, gosh, that natural gift of simplifying the complex problem so easy, and then them saying that statement of like, Ben, you've clarified in an hour what would take me months. Like, oh my gosh, that hit me so hard. Most people don't realize the gifts, they don't come with fireworks. They leave little breadcrumbs. They're the thank yous that people give you. They're the repeat requests, for help. They're the moments when you lose track of time, the tasks that light you up while others are draining you. Like, the work isn't about, creating new gifts. It's about slowing down enough to follow the trail and to the ones that you already have. And so that's what we're diving into. I want to walk you through these 6 really simple ways that help you to spot your gifts that are just hiding in plain sight right in front of you, okay? With that, we want to build the confidence in what you have to bring to the table. And so these, once again, they're not theories. They're very practical tools for busy parents and overwhelmed entrepreneurs and hardworking employees who already are using these gifts, and we want you to make them to stop feeling ordinary and start owning their extraordinary value that they have. The best part is, once you recognize them, you can start using them even more. You'll find that it doesn't just change your confidence. It changes how you show up to your family, your work, and your community, which just changes your overall view on life. And so like I said, if you want to dive deeper, of course, I'll put a link down in the description. Like I said, everything in this is going to be grounded in the book, The Giver Method. So the link is in the description. Go get it on Amazon. Or you can pause the video right now, go to Amazon, look up The Giver Method by Jake Talbert. Totally up to you. So if you're ready, for maybe more personal support, then maybe you go to our website, thegivermethod.com. You check out the link down below. It talks about the one-on-one coaching that we have, where we actually help people work through the blind spots they have on these gifts and help them to really discover and develop them so they can make that greater impact in their lives. So all the free resources we have at thegivermethod.com. Follow us on all the social medias, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, all those places under the handle of The Giver Method. And of course, if you have a team, a podcast, an event, some sort of a space where people gather and you feel like a message like this would connect with them, then let's talk about what that could look like. There's a link below about speaking and podcasting. And of course, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you don't miss out on any of the future videos I put out on these topics. All right, we won't waste any more time. Let's dive right in on how you can spot your superpowers that you've been overlooking all this time. And so the first step, the first way you do this is your understanding that your ordinary is extraordinary to someone else. This is all about spotting your, effortless edge. And one of the biggest clues that you stumbled on a hidden gift, is going to be this. It feels easy, and it's going to feel weird, nearly impossible for other people. The trap is that our brain doesn't flag it as special because it's just what you've always done. It's been a part of you. It's like a fish saying water, man, there's nothing unique here, right? It's that same sort of idea. The truth is, though, our brains, the neuroscience shows that the things that are automatic to you, those automatic skills that just come naturally to you, they feel less likely, like you're going to be recognized for them. It's not, you don't recognize it, your brain doesn't recognize it as value. And that's why you might just breeze through organizing the chaotic schedule, or breaking down the complex problem, or maybe calming the tense moment, and then shrug it off as nothing. Meanwhile, other people around you are blown away by the thing that you just did. They wish that you could do it. So here's what we want to do to start spotting this in the wild, okay? The first thing, track those that was nothing moment. Anytime that maybe you catch yourself thinking or saying well, anyone could do that. I don't understand why people don't get it. It's easy. Pause, write it down. What did you do? How did people react? That's a gift, trying to wave to you, being hey, here I am, let's go use this more. Notice the struggle gap. If something takes you a minute but leaves others spinning their wheels, pay attention to that. That gap is where the superpower you're looking for lives. You can ask yourself at the end of the day, what felt easy to me today that others seem to find hard? And then look for the repeat patterns over a week or two to see what those are. And then, of course, flip the ordinary. The next time someone thanks you, resist the urge to downplay it. Instead of oh, I just did whatever, I just did this blank. Try framing it as the value you created. Hey, I helped bring clarity. I created calm when things were really messy. Because the very things you brush off as just as basic are often the exact strengths that set you apart. People who actually learn to lean into that, the effortless abilities that they have, not only are going to be more confident, but they're more likely to build those gifts into a lasting success that brings them more fulfillment. When you start honoring these easy as breathing abilities you have, you stop apologizing for them. Gosh, you just need to own them. That's when the ordinary starts changing lives, including yours. And that takes us to the second one, which is you have to what people ask from you isn't random. You have to understand that those are going to be the clues for your gifts. So think of this as the request radar. And it's one of the easiest ways to uncover hidden superpowers is pay attention to what the people keep asking you for help with. Those requests, they're not random in any way. They're breadcrumbs pointing you back to your strengths. And if you think about it, people don't just throw requests into the air and hope someone catches them. They go specifically to the person that they trust can help them get it done. If a coworker asks you to take a look at something, hey, come look at this presentation, it's because they know that you can make it clearer. A friend calls you when life feels maybe overwhelming. It's because you naturally bring calm to chaos. The problem is most of us are so busy helping that we never stop to notice the patterns of what people are asking. We're brushing it off thinking it's what anyone would do. But it's not. Once again, those repeat requests are your community, the people around you way of saying hey, this is where you shine. And so here's how it's going to work. Weird. You're going to turn on your radar, request radar. For the next 2 weeks, write down every single thing people ask you for, no matter how big or small it is. By the end, you're going to see these patterns that you've probably been ignoring for years. You could even look back over time, like over the history, as help. Like, what have people asked you for over the past few months? Was it problem solving or emotional support or organization, strategy, whatever? Like, those categories show you where the gifts are hiding that you're going to want to dive deeper into. Listen to the thank yous. Pay attention to the exact words when someone says thank you. Like, hey, you made that so clear. They may not be like, thank you so much for making that. Like, but listen for what they're saying. Like, oh my gosh, it's so much easier. Thank you so much. Just take those. Like, hey, you saw something I totally missed. Like, those phrases are gift spotters, like, in disguise. And then once again, notice repeat customers. If the same people keep coming back to you for the same kind of help, it's not by accident. It's proof that you're carrying some sort of a gift that they're counting on. Because people can usually see gifts, like our own gifts, more clearly than you can. And you feel at ease, but like you feel like it's super easy to you, but they are the ones feeling the impact. There's tons of data out there that shows like that feedback from others is about 40% more accurate than a self-assessment when it comes to spotting your natural abilities. So when you stop paying attention to what people keep asking you for, you're essentially crowdsourcing your own like gift map to create. And so the bottom line is like those everyday requests aren't distractions, they're actual signals to pay attention to. Helps you to reflect back on what your superpowers have been all along. And then that takes us to the third principle, okay? So think about it this way. Your gifts live where your energy rises. So think of it like we're going to follow the energy trail. Follow the energy trail. And so it's one of the simplest ways that you spot your gifts is paying attention to your energy. Like when you're operating in a natural lane, something shifts. You feel more alive. Time flies. Even after the hard, like if you've been working really hard, like you still have fuel left in the tank. And this isn't about like, what you like doing or whatever. It's much deeper than that. There's a big difference between being competent at something that like you've trained yourself to do versus being completely energized by something that feels like second nature to you. Learned skills can make you a very capable person, sure, but it can also be things that drain you a ton. True gifts actually give back more energy than they take from you. And so here's how you can start to spot these sort of energy spikes and see where your gifts may lie within them. The first thing is like there's I love the exercise of doing daily energy mapping, where at the end of the day you jot down one thing that gave you energy and one thing that drained you. Especially notice like the moments when you were helping someone. That's where your gifts tend to live. You could do a time warp test where like watch for times when you lose track of times, like not like binge watching Netflix or something, but like when you were solving or teaching or organizing or creating, or then you suddenly realize, my gosh, hours have passed. Like that's a huge gift clue. And then you could do these ideas of this before and after check, where the next time someone asks you for help, notice how you feel before, during, and after. Like some requests will leave you tired. Others are going to leave you strangely like way more energized than before. And then pay attention to what was the difference within those. And then I like using this idea of flipping your frustration. So the things that drive you crazy about how others operate, often like there's a mirror of some hidden strengths there for yourself. And so if sloppy systems make you kind of twitch and cringe, like, chances are you've got some organizing gift. If unclear communication frustrates the heck out of you, then you might carry a gift for clarity, and translation. Your thoughts can really trick you, like comparison, expectations, the we should be's, like they cloud our judgment. But your energy, it does not lie in any sort of a way. And there's tons of like positive psychology around this that show that like people who align their lives with, their energizing strengths, they're always going to report a higher, life satisfaction, less burnout, and better connection with the people around them. So if you want to find your gift, stop looking at what drains you and start following the trail of what's fueling you along the way. Your body knows the answer. It's just waiting for you to start listening to what it is that it's been telling you. And that takes us to the fourth one, which is all about like turning praise into proof of your gift. So catch the compliments, that you probably have been throwing away. Because the funny thing is, most of us have been told that our gifts, we've been told our gifts are for years, but we keep brushing it off. Someone says, wow, you're, so good at calming people down. We answer, oh, it's nothing, or we say like, oh, hey, you made that so clear for me. Like, and we just shrug off, hey, I'm here to help. And they come off in so many different ways that it may hit home to you. So whichever one sounds familiar to you, just think about what that looks like in your own head. Like these are like little deflections that we feel are polite, but they're really like But what they're really doing is you're throwing away valuable evidence about who you are and what you bring. And so there's actually science and data behind this, like that your brain is wired to hold on to criticism like Velcro and let compliments slide off like it's, a nonstick pan, right? That survival wiring means that you can remember every negative comment, but you forget the positive feedback that could actually show you what your gifts are. And so if you want to start spotting your superpowers, like start catching the compliments rather than tossing them aside. So here's what you want to do. Like number one is like the no dismiss rule, where you just for a week, 2 weeks, every time you get a compliment, big or small, write it down word for word. Don't adjust, don't downplay it, just keep the exact language that people are using. Maybe you do a compliment dig, like an archaeology dig, like where you ask a handful of people in different areas of your life, hey, when do you see me at my best? What's something I do that makes things easier for you? And the answers are going to surprise you. Spot the patterns, look for things. Like after 30 days of collecting compliments and thank yous, go back and circle around, like what are the themes that keep showing up? If the same phrases are popping up, like, hey, you always bring clarity, or you make me feel safe, like those aren't coincidences. That's your gift showing up in repeat. And then ask for stories, not labels. Instead of like, hey, what am I good at? Hey, tell me about a time when like I made something easier or better for you. The stories people share will point you to real and like functional gifts in action. I mean, this matters so much because people's feedback is often more accurate than our own self-assessment, because they get to experience the impact of our gifts without it feels easy, so it must be valuable. Like, gosh, we've got those blind spots. Like they don't have that. They're feeling the value. And so you start collecting those types of compliments instead of swatting them away. Once again, we're not fishing for validation. You're building a record of proof. You're creating the mirror that reflects the actual value you can bring. Over time, that evidence piles up. It becomes absolutely undeniable. So don't brush it off. When someone says, hey, you're amazing at whatever, like don't brush it off. Pause, thank them, write it down. Chances are they're telling you something about a superpower that's just waiting to be discovered and developed. And then that comes to like borrowing someone else's eyes. Gosh, see yourself in ways that others do. Your strongest gifts will always feel ordinary to you, but that's why you need outsider eyes. Because the people around you experience the impact without feeling how easy it is for you. They often see your superpowers more clearly than you ever will. And so, but most of us, like we miss it. Like we miss it all the time. We either ask the wrong questions, we dismiss the answers. If you ask like, hey, what am I good at? People are going to throw out vague things like, well, you're nice, you work hard, and that's not super helpful. The better move is to ask for stories. Tell me about a time when I made something easier for you. Hey, what's different about how I handle things compared to others? Hey, if you had something that, someone came to you with a problem, you're like, oh my gosh, you need to go talk to Jake. What would that be for and why? Look for those things. So here's some simple ways. So the first one is it's called the 5 voice strategy, where you're going to just pick 5 people from different areas of your life. It could be work, family, friends, community, whatever, and ask them for a story where you made a difference. When you start to see overlap in their answers, pay attention to it. Like that's your gift starting to intersect. Think of that storytelling approach. Instead of the generic questions like, hey, tell me about the time where I handled a tough situation well. These stories, they show your gifts in action, not just theory. There's context mapping, where like different people will spot different sides of you. Coworkers might highlight your clarity, where a friend might see your humor, and your kids say you're calm under pressure. Like together, those perspectives can start to bring a full picture. Once again, most people can't see that they've got 4, 5, 6 gifts and superpowers they overlook in different parts of our lives. And then of course there's impact investigation, where it's like, hey, what's different about how I approach this compared to others? That question can like open up so many things to your unique style to bring to the table. And it matters, like you're too close to your own life to see these things clearly. Other people can see the forest while you're just staring at an individual tree. People who seek feedback from multiple perspectives are 3 times more likely to like be able to like articulate in understanding their own, like have a really clear picture of their own understanding of their strengths, than those who, rely on their own self-reflection alone. So instead of brushing off insights, like start collecting these, go seek them out, because when you do, it's going to create these amazing results for you, in which you can see how you're creating value for other people, and it eliminates the self-doubt. And of course, our 6th one, which is like you create real confidence that you can't like you can't argue with. So this is going to be your gift proof file. And most of us, most of us experience our gifts in little flashes, a compliment here, a quick win there, and we forget about them the next day. Which means every time that maybe self-doubt shows up, like you feel like you're starting at zero. That's why you need like this proof that you can look back on. Not for hype, not for wishful thinking, but real evidence to be like, hey, see, this is who I am and this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm working towards and the impact I can make. And so think about like building your own highlight reel, that like you're not, inflating anything. You're just simply collecting the facts so that when the inner critic and the self-doubt pipes up, like you've got these receipts that you can pull out and be like, I've got this. And so you start by creating a gift evidence file where you just maybe grab a note on your phone or something on your computer or maybe even a notebook, and you write down like the exact compliments you get or what type of requests people bring to you, the times your natural way of doing things created a win for someone else. And don't edit, just capture these details. Do a weekly pattern review where you notice skim through what you've collected, notice what you keeps showing up. Do people keep thanking you for things along a line of clarity? Or coming to you for like calm when things are seem messy. Once again, the patterns don't lie. And then once again, the before and after notes. The next time that you use one of your gifts to help someone, jot down the situation. Like, what did it look like before you stepped in? What did it look like after? And when you can see the transformation in really black and white, it's harder to downplay the impact. And then tracking your gifts in action. Once you know what some of these core strengths are, you look for chances to use them on purpose, and you keep documenting the results. That's how you shift from random moments to reliable strengths that you can lean on. You start using them more intentionally day to day. Oh my gosh, the results and the data that you'll collect is insane. The confidence that you build, you go from feeling like it's wobbling, like you can actually build, evidence that sticks. There's the psychology behind this, shows that people who keep a record of their abilities bounce back from any sort of a setback 50% faster than those who just try to think positive. When you've got the growing stack of proof, you're not guessing about your value, you're living from it. And that's how you stop hoping you have something to offer and start owning the fact that you already do have something to offer. And so if you're moving through life feeling like maybe you're just ordinary, wondering what unique value you bring, here's the truth. You have been missing these gifts that are sitting there. You've just been blind, you've been blind to the ones that are already around you that you're using every single day. Everything that we talked about today, where you're spotting the things that feel easy, you pay attention to what energizes you, you start stacking these real world things, they come back to one simple reality. Your superpowers don't show up with fireworks, and the moment that you slow down and just start following that trail, you're going to realize your ordinary, is anything but that. You've been leaving breadcrumbs this whole time that you just need to realize you've got this extraordinary thing you can offer people. And I tell people this all the time, you're the only person that has your unique combination of gifts, superpowers, and experiences. So you are the only person who can make the impact that you're born to make. The voice that's in your head that's like, hey, this is no big deal, anyone could do this, it's not proof of your abilities are off or that they're just common. It's proof that they're just deeply natural to you, and often we can't see how rare they really are. And the rest of the world can see it. Once you learn to see it too, everything changes. The biggest shift happens when you stop asking, what am I good at? And start asking, hey, what feels normal to me but creates extraordinary value for others? And how can I start using that more intentionally today? This is what the Giver Method's all about. It's about helping you uncover your gifts in ways that, you just don't even realize that they've always been there, hidden in plain sight, giving you the confidence to actually see them and use them. And so if that hits home for you and you want to dive deeper, then go on Amazon, use the link in the description, go to Amazon and get yourself a copy of the Giver Method book. Head over to thegivermethod.com, look at the other ways that we help people. If you're tired of overlooking that value, you want someone in your corner to help you, spot the pattern, start owning what these things are, and work with you to discover these, then check out the one-on-one coaching we have down in the description. Of course, if you lead a team, run a podcast, gather people in some sort of an event, a podcast or whatever, and you think this message would hit home for them, then let's connect on how we could bring it to your community using the Speaking and Podcast link down below. Your gifts, they aren't hiding, right? They're right in front of you. They're woven into things that just feel effortless, but you assume everyone can do. The real question is, isn't whether you have unique gifts. The question is, like, are you ready to finally see them and start using them intentionally every single day? Your superpowers, they're already here for you. It's time to stop overlooking them and start owning them every single day. So let's start doing that, you know? And of course, along the lines, as you're watching this video, hopefully you've received some sort of value from it. Leave a comment what you're taking away from it. You know, like the video, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on the future content when that we put out there. You know, help you to recognize, you know, and live from your superpowers that you already carry. And so the question isn't whether you have these unique gifts out for the world. The question is, will you finally see them in the extraordinary nature of what feels ordinary to you, and just start giving them your superpowers? They are there, and it's time that you stop overlooking them and start owning them. The world needs you to start being more intentional with them and providing the value that only you can create. With that, I will just tell you to have a great rest of your day, and we'll hopefully catch you in one of our next videos or upcoming videos. So have a good one.